Welcome, everyone. I'm Mindy Eggen, and I'm kicking off October with a video hop featuring the October 2024 release from Altenew. So, in today's video, I am going to be walking through some of the products that I received from Altenew. I'm also going to be creating a couple cards with you, some of them in the video, some of them I will have finished over on my blog. So, be sure to check that out. I will have that linked down below in the video description. And since this is a video hop, we do have prizes to give away. Altenew is always very generous with their prizes. So, be sure to leave a comment on the Altenew video and also with the videos along in the hop, which I will have linked down below in the video description. Now, let's jump into the products that I received. And now, these are products that I personally picked out, and Altenew was very generous to send these to me. And I want to show you what I have. So, first off, I have on the go solid sentiment strips. This is a better press plate. All of them, all the sentiments get done at once, and then there is a coordinating die to die cut them all at once. Now, keep in mind, better press plates can be used not only for better press, but also with your glimmer system if you happen to have a glimmer hot foil machine. And I love the fact that I can do all of these sentiments at once. I did go ahead and do some off screen here using jet black ink from Altenew. Next, I have the Zero Waste Autumn Leaves. I am a huge fall fan, so I was getting my fingers on anything that had to do with fall. Now, with this, you can die cut it out of white cardstock to give a window, or you can die cut it out of multiple shades of colored cardstock and use either a die cut inlay technique or use those pieces individually on your card. This is the Pretty Pumpkins layering die set. So it creates three pumpkins in three different sizes. And I thought this was a super unique design for pumpkins. It's not your typical layering pumpkins, which is what kind of intrigued me. So I do use the guide sheet that Altenew provides to help figure out how to layer them together. And what I did instead of using colored cardstock, which you absolutely can do, is I die cut the pieces out of a white cardstock and then used my Altenew inks to ink blend on color. Then these are the geometric essentials. So there's one in circles and there's one in squares. Now there's a large shape, there's three smaller shapes, and then like this one has the polka dots, this one has a bunch of small squares to add design elements to your card. Now these are better press plates. Again, you can use with your better press system or your glimmer hot foil system. Then this is the pumpkin patch. I was immediately drawn to that huge array of pumpkins. I also really love those sentiments. That's one of the things that really draw me into stamp sets is the sentiments. This does have a coordinating folder. So in order to get it to line up, you need to turn it. Well, I'm just showing you I turned it to line up, but the pumpkins do match the embossing folder. And then there is a layering stencil. So you can color in your pumpkins all one shade if you want to do all orange, or you can do a huge variety of colors for your pumpkins. Just a really fun set. And then there's also a coordinating die for the sentiments that I had set off on the side and forgot to bring back into the camera. Next, we have the Craft Your Life Project Kit, and this is the Blossoms of Encouragement. I am such a huge fan of the Craft Your Life kits. This image just is so stunning. And even though their examples give more of springy or summery colors, I immediately saw fall colors in this. So I was very excited to play with it. Even though I didn't do fall colors today, I did kind of tone it down from a summery look. I do plan on making another card with this set that is going to use some fall colors. So lots of really great sentiments on there with coordinating dies for a lot of them. There is the embossing folder. I will be using this in the video today because it was just too gorgeous not to use. And then you have the coordinating stencil. Again, this is one that I will be using today. So I do have a couple panels here that I just used the embossing folder on white cardstock to get an idea how big it is on an A2 size card front and what it looks like. And it is so great for a subtle background. You may be noticing that I am putting all of my products inside of these pockets. So Altenew is releasing these storage pockets. They fit everything for your Craft Your Life kits so well. It's not busting at the seams. It's not super thick. It fits everything so nicely. There are also some new ink colors that we have here. Beautiful array of blues that I finally was able to get swatched out before I filmed my video. So this is what my swatches look like. I love those shade of blues. Then we also have a green collection. So this one is Green Meadows. It is a very, I would say like traditional green color. So it's great for your leaves and things like that. And then we have the warm and cozy set. And this one has a mix, I would say a mix of like a light yellowish orange to that fire brick at the end. So it is a beautiful autumn collection. And I wanted to quickly show you, this is what I do with my ink swatches. I have a binder, I think, I can't remember the size, but I will have it linked in the video description. So what I do when I get new ink colors is I kind of move things around so they're all in rainbow order. Altenew is also releasing some new cardstock. Now, this is just a sampling of it. I don't have all of the colors being released today, but I am definitely going to be adding the rest of them to my cart because I love their colors. I love the feel of their cardstock. It is so great for die cutting, and their assortment is really just, it's a huge variety, which I love to have. And one more product that Altenew was kind enough to share is their new picker tool. I love having new crafty tools, especially ones that are so pretty like this. And this has a kind of pokey end on one side and then your wax tip on the other. The end caps with the wax tip has a white end and the other end with the pokey tool has a gold end. And honestly, can we ever have enough pokey tools? So the first card that I'm going to show you how I put together is using that zero waste autumn leaves. So I just die cut it out of white cardstock to create a window. And then of course, since I love ink blending, I'm ink blending an autumn array of colors on the background. So my window is going to go on top of this, which means you don't have to be super precise with your ink blending. It doesn't have to uh, I want to say blend perfectly, although with Altenew inks, it's hard not to get a good blend because they do blend beautifully and they smooth out really well. So I brought in some colors from my collection, just kind of adding that autumn array of color in there. I felt like I was losing a little bit of that yellow, so I am going to bring that back in. And I do say that, or I do recommend in between my colors, I wipe up my glass work surface so I don't get green in the red when I really want red. I don't mind getting a brown in there. I really wanted to make sure my red was staying true to that red. To attach my window, I am going to just take some liquid glue that I have in a fine tip bottle. I went all the way around the edges and also in the inside pieces as much as I could. If I felt like there was a piece I missed, I just kind of lifted it up a little bit here once I set it down. I would lift that little area up and add a dab of glue. So that's creating that beautiful autumn background for my leaves. And then off screen, I did a whole bunch of sentiments. And this is a variety of the Craft Your Life kit and also the Pumpkin Patch sentiments. I layered up the die cuts and I just have everything ready to go. This one, the thank you, I believe, is off of the Pumpkin Patch because I really liked that style of font that they used. So I just tucked that down in that bottom corner and I called that one good. Next, I'm going to work on a card using the Craft Your Life project kit. So I am bringing in the Stamp Wheel 2.0, which Altenew has generously sent me to try out. I love the 2.0 for the fact that it is a bigger mat. I do like the concept of the stamp wheel. The original one I struggled with because it didn't fit my cardstock. You can see there on the side of that one side of the stamp wheel is removable, so you can have large pieces of cardstock in there. Now, I pre-cut my cardstock to 5.5 by 8.5. And on the original stamp wheel, I couldn't fit that in there. The 8.5 was too big. So I am very excited that they came out with this larger size so I can fit my cardstock in there without having to trim it down. So you can see how this image from the Craft Your Life kit fits beautifully on there with plenty of room to spare. So I did line that up on my cardstock. I have my Hammermill cardstock tucked into that bottom left-hand corner, just like I would if I was using my Misty. And then I'm going to ink this up with limestone ink. This is a light gray ink. This is, if you've never seen my videos before, I prefer to stamp my image in a light gray ink. I ink blend second, and then I bring everything back to my stamping positioner and stamp it again in black. To me, that's just my security blanket of not smearing any ink because I work really hard on my ink blending, and this has been a really go-to technique for me. So I stamp the image twice in the limestone ink. I'm going to remove my cardstock. It's still a sticky mat down in the bottom there. And then I'm going to leave everything as is. I'm not going to remove my stamp. To do my ink blending, I'm going to bring in my large sticky mat from Altenew. So I just placed my cardstock there to grip the cardstock. And I wanted to show you, I got this super cute case from Altenew. It was like a freebie, I think, in one of my purchases. And it fits those small blending brushes so well, which was the point of it. And I just love it. I just had to share it with you because it's so pretty. And I still have room for more brushes, which is always a good thing. I already went ahead and lined up the first layer of the stencil and I masked off some areas with some Post-it tape so I don't get too carried away when I'm blending and get into areas I don't want. Now I am blending the first and second layer that I'm showing here of the stencil using this teal color. I'm going to have all of my colors listed down below in the video description. Now on this second layer of the stencil, I did bring in a smaller blending brush and a darker shade of that teal to add a little bit of shadow to my flowers. Kind of wish I would have done this on that first layer, but it's totally fine. I'm loving how it looks. So now I am going to bring in the third layer of the stencil. I think it's the third. I don't know. They are all labeled A1, A2, A3 when you want to do this rose. I kind of went out of order a little bit on my stencils, but everything is labeled so you know what matches up. That just added the details of those particular flowers, and I used a darker shade of teal for those. Now, these center flowers, I'm going to call them daisies because I'm not sure what else they'd be. Uh, or sunflowers, because I'm actually ink blending them as sunflowers. And I used this really, I don't know if I want to say dusty yellow color, but it looks so good. I was a little nervous at first when I was doing this color combination, but at the end, it just comes out so good. So I'm adding that yellow to my flower petals. I'm coming in with a little bit of darker shade. So it's kind of like a brownish yellow to add those shadow areas towards the center. And again, everything is really, it's how do I want to say it? Perfectly labeled is what I want to say. I'm at a loss for words today. Everything is perfectly labeled on the stencil so you can figure out what layer or what stencil image goes with what. So whether it's A1, A2, A3, or B1, B2, Altenew does a great job of that. Now here I am adding some brown to color in my centers. I'm not sure if they're supposed to be sunflowers. They did at first look like daisies to me, but I don't know if I ever leave anything as a daisy. I always end up turning it into a sunflower. Now I'm bringing in the next layer of the stencils to add green to my leaves. And you can see that I switch between the blending brushes. I have the two sizes, the small and the mini, that really help me kind of control where my ink blending is going. I still mask off a lot because I'm not sure what I want to do with the card panel. So it's better to be safe than sorry at this point. One thing that I do a lot when it comes to my layering stencils is I'll add a light color first and then leaving the stencil in place, I will come in with a darker shade. You can see I do that quite a bit with the leaves, even though there is another detail layer of the leaves that you can add a darker color to. Just one of my, I guess I would say another go-to technique is leaving a stencil in place to add a darker color. I think that just brings a little bit more character to my image and if I want to say kind of customizing it because it wasn't really how the stencil was meant to be used. It's something that I have found that I really enjoy doing. Now, another great thing about stamping in a light color first is you could use this image as is. So it's kind of like this no line coloring look, which is beautiful and very kind of soft and whimsical. But I'm going to bring this back over to my stamp wheel and I'm lining this up to make sure I'm not off on anything. I mean, I could stamp on acetate to test it out, but usually I just kind of eyeball it. It looked pretty good. And I'm going to ink the image back up again in obsidian ink. And when I stamped this down, I actually had to pause for a second because it is a wow factor to add that crisp black line over all that ink blending I just did. Now, because obsidian ink is a pigment ink, it takes a little bit longer to dry. So I am going to just remove this from my sticky mat and set it off on the side, not only to dry, but to build up the courage to cut it apart if that's what I decided to do, because I loved it. It was really hard for me to cut it apart. So while I'm waiting and deciding, I'm going to work with these geometric essentials. I decided to use the circle and I brought out my Better Press system. So I'm placing this circle kind of a little bit in the center of my A2 grid lines there. I also have a piece of Hammermill cardstock, and I'm just going to hold that down inside of those A2 grid lines that match up with my Better Press. I'm just holding that down with Post-it tape. I'm finding I really like Post-it tape because even after pressure is applied, when I go to remove the Post-it tape, it's not ripping my cardstock. To apply my ink, I'm using Eastern Sky, which is one of the new colors, and I kind of forgot that these are brand new and super juicy. Now, with the Better Press plates, you want to do kind of a push and twist method when you're applying your color. And I did that, which was giving me a lot of ink. So then I just went through, kind of tapped it a little bit, and the ink will smooth out. So I'm going to place the top plate over the top, the magnets grab it in the corners, run that through my Spellbinders Platinum 6, and I got this beautiful transfer of color. There was one small area that didn't look like it had a perfect edge to it, but I'm going to kind of ignore that because I think everything else worked out really well. So I'm bringing this into my stamp wheel and I'm going to use that large image from the Craft Your Life project kit. I placed it over my inked up Better Press design there. And I'm going to ink my design up here with the obsidian ink once again. So all I'm going to do is stamp this image in this black outline. And I will admit at first when I did this, I wasn't sure how I felt about it. I don't normally do designs on cards like this where it's just a black outline with color like that. And because it's kind of that just a circle shape. But after I got the sentiment on there, I thought that came out so good. It was definitely out of my comfort zone, we'll say. This is the on the go solid sentiment strips that I had showed earlier in the video that I had already done off screen, but I'm just showing you how I lined up the die. I'm holding it in place with Post-it tape. And then when I run it through my die cut machine, I tilt it so that it's not so hard on my machine. I apologize for all the wiggle there. I have a new camera set up, so I have a little bit of wiggle. But this die cuts out all of these sentiments, and they are such a great kind of all around occasion. There's such a variety of sentiments in there. I love it. So to finish it off for this card, I used that thank you from the pumpkin patch and then the I appreciate you from the on the go solid sentiment strips. Now for my large image, I went ahead and I used the coordinating die cut to die cut it out. I also die cut out another piece out of just white cardstock, and I'm going to layer that together just to give it a little bit of dimension and stability. And I decided instead of really chopping it down for one card, I'm going to do a split card design. So I added tape runner to the back of my image, and then I have two card panels here that measure 4¼ by 5½. And I am going to place this over the top. Now, you may have asked, why didn't I just start out with a 5½ by 8½? And I felt like this was easier for me to eyeball and see really how much of each flower was on each side. I guess it was better to center it, in my opinion. But you can definitely just start out with the whole sheet of cardstock. So I'm going to trim off the excess that was hanging off the edge. That way I can line it up nice and flush with the edge of my paper trimmer. And I'm cutting right along where those two card panels separate. So this is going to give me two card fronts with that design. None of my image is wasted. There is one that had a little bit more than the other, but that's okay. I love how these came out. The colors, they weren't quite as fall looking as I was hoping, but it is still a gorgeous color combination. So I finished it off with sentiments off of that Craft Your Life project kit stamp set. So I have one more card here that I'm going to finish off and put together for you on screen, and that is using the embossing folder from that Craft Your Life project kit. I had already went ahead and embossed it on white cardstock. I came in at the top, I think that was Fire Brick, which is a new color, came in with a yellow. I can't remember offhand exactly which one it was, but I will have the collection linked. So I blended that so the yellow kind of fades off to white towards the bottom. And then I'm adding these metallic coppery splatters, but I'm also going to bring in some white because I needed to have a little bit more white popping off the front of the card. And I love my splatters, but if you don't, you could totally leave it off. And then I'm finishing it off with 3 sentiments from the On the Go solid sentiment strips. I did pop these up with some black foam squares, and I put a little bit of liquid glue on the back so I have some wiggle room. And then I'll set a heavy block on the top so that it really adheres down to that embossed area. So those are my finished card projects for today, featuring the October 2024 release from Altenew. I do have some more cards that I created from the release that are not featured in this video, and only some of them are in this picture. So be sure to head over to my blog, check them out. You can save them for inspiration for later. Definitely leave a comment down below and also on the Altenew video so you are entered into their giveaway, and I will have more information about that in my video description. Thank you all so much for joining me, and I will see you soon. Happy October!